Walking away now. What do you want? What do you want? I have a knife.
There's a channel that's built its reputation on one thing: capturing genuine reactions when wilderness isolation takes a dark turn. No dramatization, no staged content, just raw footage of what happens when you're truly alone and something goes wrong. This became their most disturbing upload yet. A solo camper veers away from the marked path, searching for the perfect stealth camping location deep in the Pacific Northwest. He finds a small patch of isolated woodland, remote enough to avoid detection, close enough to retreat if needed. As he finishes setting up his single-person shelter, fog begins creeping through the trees. Thick, visibility-killing fog that turns the forest into a wall of gray. Darkness arrives early, swallowing sound and sight together. Now he's completely cut off. Just him, the muffled sound of distant wildlife, and the occasional rustle of leaves breaking the silence.
Hello? Alright, I don't like this. Hello? Hello? They're touching my tent. Stop.
Full darkness settles over the camp. That's when he hears it. Movement nearby. It's close. Too close. He freezes, straining to identify what's making the sounds. Animal, human. The fog makes it impossible to tell.
Walking away now. What do you want? What do you want? I have a knife. Where's my knife? They're f***ing with me. They're f***ing with me here. Holy crap, get away, what do you want?
Then figures emerge from the darkness. Multiple people, whispering to each other in hushed tones he can't make out. They don't announce themselves. Instead, they begin circling his shelter, deliberately, methodically, while continuing to whisper among themselves. One of them even lifts the rain fly. Another starts pulling at the tent stakes. They know he's inside. They've known the entire time. There's no hiding now, no safe option but to run.
They're pulling. Jesus Christ. They were pulling on my tent. They ripped the fly off. That's when I sat up, then they scurried. Okay, I'm back in the field now. I don't see anybody. I'd be able to see them.
He bursts from the collapsing shelter and crashes into the forest. Mud grabs his boots, thorns tear at his clothes and skin. The slick terrain threatens to drop him with every step. The fog turns navigation into pure instinct. He's moving blind, trying desperately to find his vehicle before whoever's behind him closes the distance. Minutes feel like hours. Finally, he breaks through into a clearing. His truck sits exactly where he left it. He escapes, but barely. Morning light reveals what happened in the darkness. He returned to recover his gear, and what he finds confirms the encounter wasn't imagined. The shelter is destroyed, stakes pulled from the ground, equipment scattered, but nothing stolen, just disturbed and deliberately taken apart. This was intentional. What makes this footage so deeply unsettling is that it exposes the real danger of off-trail camping, and it's not wildlife. These people found his camp in complete darkness and fog. They identified an occupied shelter, and then they made a choice. A choice to stay silent, to circle it, to interact with it directly without ever revealing who they were or what they wanted. That decision strips away every innocent explanation. If their intentions were harmless, there would be no reason for the whispering, no reason to circle the tent, no reason to start crashing it down, while someone was clearly inside. Normal people announce themselves. That's what you do in the wilderness. Hikers call out. Even rangers identify themselves before approaching a campsite. We are left with questions that have no answers. This next one comes from a channel called the Flex Tapes, an exploration channel that's focused specifically on abandoned and isolated locations scattered throughout the countryside. Their videos rely heavily on real-time reactions, minimal editing that might cover up what's actually happening, and tapping into that psychological tension that comes from being alone in these decaying rural spaces. These guys kind of brush right against the edge of what could be considered paranormal content, but they never force conclusions or try to convince you of anything that's supernatural. In 2023, at a remote abandoned farmhouse located on rural farmland somewhere in the U.S., the explorer is lying awake upstairs in one of the bedrooms, and he takes time explaining to the camera how isolation in places like this magnifies absolutely every sound you hear. And he takes time explaining to the camera how isolation in places like this magnifies absolutely every sound you hear. The bedroom door remains open as he lies there listening intently, and you can sense this subtle shift in the atmosphere happening just before the first truly unexplained noises begin.
Be a farmer or something, or an explorer, I'm not sure. I can still see a torchlight. I'm not gonna move, I'm not gonna wait until I think it's safe, and I'm gonna get out. If I can. This mattress is so noisy.
The tension in the situation peaks dramatically when he sees an actual man walk right past the doorway of the room he's in. Not a shadow, not a trick of the light, an actual figure of a person passing directly by the doorway. Just a few feet from him. Acting purely on instinct and survival drive, he immediately switches off all his lights and stays completely still, lowering himself down as quietly as physically possible while barely breathing. In total darkness now, with no way to see what's happening, the fear becomes immediate and absolutely overwhelming. It's intensified massively by the isolation of being in this abandoned building in the middle of nowhere, and by the knowledge that someone else is definitely with him.
Hiding down, I slid down there as much as I could.
Right, so luckily I had no lights on, so that won't given away that anyone was in there. Maybe instantly just a farmer checking the place out, I don't know. I mean, you can't see. I haven't bumped into anyone. It is dark out here. I know I've got my torch, but if I see someone now, I'm just telling it's a walker, and I'm not in the house, so I'm pretty safe. So
he slowly exits the farmhouse under the cover of complete darkness, moving as quietly as possible and constantly listening for any sounds that might indicate where the other person is. On the walk back through the fields to where his car is, several glowing eyes suddenly appear on a distant hillside. Obviously, this briefly ignites his panic before he realizes with relief that they are just sheep watching from the slope above. Once he's safely away from the location and back at his vehicle, he takes time to reflect on how quickly genuine fear took hold of him, and once he realized with the certainty that he was no longer alone in that building. No direct confrontation ever actually occurs between him and whoever else was in there, but the psychological impact of the experience clearly is lingering with him long after he's gotten to his safety. He admits openly that choosing to stay overnight in that particular farmhouse was a mistaken judgment. Yeah, you think? And he states clearly and definitively that he will not be returning to that location under any circumstances. I like these and I like watching them to see what happens, but I'm not gonna do them. I'm never gonna go sleep in an abandoned place. I'm just not gonna do it. What say you guys? I mean, I don't know. I'll say this. What makes this encounter deeply unsettling to me is just the whole situation. You're already completely alone in this random, abandoned farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. Who knows what kind of crap is in there? But then someone walks by. Who is it? Why is he in that building? Some people in the comments said that maybe he's a farmer checking on the property. Maybe he's a masked murderer. I don't know. I'm grateful I didn't have to stick around to see what might have happened if the man had actually noticed him lying there in the darkness. This clip comes from Uncharted Travel, a Canadian adventure channel run by a guy named Brennan. He does these intense solo trips to remote off-grid locations. It's real isolation stuff. In October of 2022, he's at Mascot Mine in southern British Columbia. While hiking through steep mountain terrain, he realizes he's lost the trail and accidentally wandered onto active mine property. Industrial dump trucks are working nearby, so he has to time his movements carefully. He waits in cover, then sprints across open ground. He barely avoids getting spotted as trucks pass like 10 feet away. He eventually finds his way to this abandoned settlement and sets up camp inside an old office building. I'm not so sure he's out of trouble.
You can feel the cool air coming from the mine. And oh my god, they put like people back there. That's so creepy. Well,
after he's settled into his sleeping bag, his motion sensor goes off with this cheerful, "Hello, welcome" chime. He checks no one's there.
that was a...
Back in his sleeping bag, the motion sensor triggers 3 more times in quick succession. Then, seconds later, massive crash. It sounded like something heavy just got thrown down a staircase. Something's either pacing or lingering right in the doorway. He moves the sensor inside his sleeping area because now he's worried whatever triggered it might actually be inside the building with him.
I think we need to go investigate that because I know I closed all the doors, so that concerns me a little. Hearing a slam like that. I don't know if my camera picked it up. Okay, I'm trying to be weary about noise discipline here. Or light discipline, because... It's not windy. All of these doors are closed. Well, except for this one, but this one's not budging. As you can see, it's like stuck there. It'd take a lot to move these ones. But it sounded like it was one of these doors. That's so bizarre, they're all closed. Like... oh, this night just keeps getting weirder and weirder. I swear I just heard the lock click. I don't want to have any lights. I'm going to kill my camera. Check it out. I don't think there's anyone out there. It looked like there was light shining on the balcony, but I think it's just the moonlight. I really hope there's not someone creeping out there.
I mean, I just gotta pop in here and say, screw this. No way I'm doing this. Brennan said that this night was one of the most psychologically brutal experiences he's ever had. He battled severe dehydration, exhaustion, total isolation, and on top of that, all of these creepy sounds. That's not to mention all of the sensors triggering, the door slamming, the locks clicking. This place, no way. And another thing that makes this one so unsettling is the location itself. It's creepy as, and he's stuck there. Once darkness sets in, I mean, leaving's not an option. But lastly, the motion detector going off over and over, that's where I would draw the line. I mean, each time it triggers, it's like confirmation that something's moving, but it's just out of your sight. Let's file this under the absolutely not category. This one comes from a channel called Venture Unbound, which is a UK-based outdoor adventure channel that's centered on solo camping and testing personal limits in semi-remote public woodlands. His videos really focus on these real-time overnight experiences where the isolation, the atmosphere, and the psychological pressure end up doing most of the work. In a woodland area within a public country park somewhere in the United Kingdom, the evening starts settling in. The camper finishes preparing his bivvy beneath a tarp and cooks himself a meal of eggs and bacon over a small portable stove. The woodland around him grows steadily quieter as daylight fades. The silence is only broken by distant birds calling out to each other and the occasional owl hooting. He's using his lantern to scan the surrounding trees, making comments about how different and how much more enclosing the forest feels once daylight completely fades away and darkness takes over. What begins as this calm, peaceful preparation for the night slowly starts shifting into a growing sense of unease as darkness settles in fully around his campsite.
This is what it's like when it's pitch black. This is what it's like when it's the lantern on, and it's very creepy. Like when you need to go to the toilet in the night, it's so spooky. Like you just see a random tree just dotted there, and it's so like, whoa! It's like a person stood there, but yeah, it's quite a...
While he's lying inside the bivvy later that night, trying to settle in and get more comfortable, he suddenly realizes with this sinking feeling that someone else is sleeping nearby. He can't see who it is because of the darkness and the limitations of the bivvy setup, but he also can't tell how close they are. Like, are they sleeping almost next to him? The only thing he knows for certain is that he is no longer alone out there in those woods.
Hello? Rod. Oh, yeah. I told you it's bumping it somewhere, so it's rock really good. Oh, it's coming about it together. Together. Yeah, but I don't want the guy to feel threatened at all, do you know what I mean? Yeah, leave him to it, mate, let's go. He's got a body cut, look, he's got a trail cam there, look. What do you mean, a trail cam? Look on the tree, that looks like animals.
You're right.
Oh, we can stumble. Hi, man.
No, it's alright, no worries.
Oh.
I'm camping, lads.
You're doing okay though. I'll tell you what, if you go down that way, there's like a bit of a ditch. Is there? Yeah. Like a bit of a... Just keep going, there's like a building or something. Oh, okay. Just have a look at it. Oh, thank you very much. Like a circular brick sort of thing. Good man.
As the night drags on and on, heavy condensation starts forming inside the bivvy. Water begins dripping onto his hands and onto his sleeping bag, progressively soaking his gear and making everything damp and just uncomfortable. Combined with the cold temperatures and realizing that someone is near him, he's getting more and more uncomfortable and restless as the minutes go by. He's on edge until morning finally arrives and brings daylight with it.
In a strange sense, it's kind of nice that people are here. Even though I don't want people here, it's, they seem friendly enough. They seemed, they were quite apologetic. They were like, really sorry for waking you up. You know, I was like, ah, it's fine, don't worry about it. Yeah, see you later. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna try and, well, I don't know, it might take me a while to nod off now that people are around, even though they're alright, they seem alright. And it's freezing tonight, really cold. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the morning. Good night.
By the time daylight comes around, the camper takes time to reflect on a night that ended up being far more challenging mentally than it ever was physically. While the group of guys who stumbled upon him ultimately meant no harm and were actually quite apologetic about waking him up, their mere presence alone was enough to expose just how genuinely vulnerable sleeping in the woods can be when you're by yourself. He even comments that the bivvy itself actually ends up becoming the biggest practical issue of the whole experience. Safe to say he bought a new one. Despite all this, he does make a point of highlighting some small positives from the experience. Hearing the owls through the darkness and waking up to a calm, peaceful morning when the sun came up. Yeah, this encounter kind of freaked me out. I mean, seeing how vulnerable he is sleeping in that bivvy, I mean, that to me, sleeping in one of those is vulnerable in itself. I don't think I'm into that. But when you have a group of people approaching and walking all around you, that's pretty startling, especially if you think you found a hidden spot. And even though this particular encounter turns out to be friendly and the people are apologetic about waking him, it highlights a real and often overlooked risk that comes with this type of camping. Anyone can wander into your campsite while you're asleep. Absolutely anyone. This clip comes from The Brothers Wild, a UK-based wild camping and outdoor adventure channel centered on riverside camps. They love to cook over an open fire, and they love unscripted trips. Taking place in North Wales, as evening approaches, the brothers finish cooking steak over their campfire and rinse their gear in the river. With daylight fading fast, they pitch their tent and gather firewood, noting there's only a short window before sunset. The campsite feels calm, but no longer completely isolated. Subtle movements along the river and in the surrounding woods suggest others may still be nearby. As darkness begins to settle and visibility drops, the atmosphere quietly shifts.
So, we're sitting here now and we're debating whether we should pack up or carry on because that guy was a bit weird, wasn't he?
Well, he basically said, I come down, he came down, he was talking about all this random mad stuff. Apocalypse and all this stuff, and then he started looking for diamonds in the water and said it was dinosaurs, and
the fact that he comes back here every night at 4 a.m.
He said he comes here at 4, he stays here till...
Shortly before nightfall, a lone man with a dog approaches their campsite. Almost immediately, his behavior feels off. He starts talking about conspiracies, uncut diamonds in the river, dinosaurs, claims he regularly stays in these woods until around 4 a.m. But what really makes him uncomfortable is that he keeps repeatedly asking whether the brothers are staying the night. The question lingers in a way that feels pointed. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, bro, what's over there? What? What's up there? Oh, shit!
Filming a video and there was a shadow, right? And we thought,
No, no way, right? And there was somebody there,
Standing
there, or sitting there. What was
Crouched,
it?
I don't know, like crouched
by
down.
the trees anyway, crouched down, watching us. And
I don't know how long he was there.
It had to be that guy. It couldn't be nothing else. It had to be that guy, because we're not scared of anything like this.
I was looking at the shutters now, but it was probably him. He was just literally crouched down about 20 metres away, probably a little bit less. And he was just
staring at us.
Staring at
Not
us.
a fox, not a fucking sheep, nothing like that.
Later, after the man has supposedly left, they suddenly spot a figure crouched by the trees, watching them and maybe 20 yards away, just staring at their campsite without moving or saying anything. Out of nowhere, maybe he thought he was spotted, but the figure suddenly runs off into the woods. They can hear movement crashing through the brush, but nothing's visible in the darkness. Deciding the situation no longer feels safe, the brothers quickly put out the fire, pack their gear, and leave the campsite late that night. This one kind of gives me the chills because that guy was creepy, and I feel like that night totally escalated. Their sense of safety, like it was just gone after that guy got there. They're preparing to spend the night, thinking they're alone, just gonna hang out, bro out. Then you realize that this man was actually probably watching them from the bushes. He was at the end, but he probably was also at the beginning. Lots of unanswered questions like who is that guy, why is he watching, what are his real intentions, but I don't think I'm sticking around. Have your woods, buddy. All yours. Lisa runs a YouTube channel where she documents her life living out of a van. She travels throughout North America filming her experiences along the way. Most of her uploads follow a relaxed vlog format, showing scenic forests, quiet overnight spots, and the drives between locations. But in February of 2022, she uploaded a video that was very different from the rest. Lisa was asleep in her van when she suddenly woke up to the sound of knocking, dangerously close to her head. It was around 4:30 in the morning and someone was outside. She remained completely still, unsure of how to react. Moments later, the knocking happened again. Lisa nervously called out a confused hello, but there was no reply. After that, everything went silent for roughly 15 minutes. Eventually, she heard footsteps approaching once more. This time, she grabbed her camera and began recording.
Somebody's back here again. I hear footprints. Hello? How can I help you? It's 4:30 in the morning. I don't feel safe. Who are you?
Again, no response. Moving quietly, she stepped toward the front of the van and looked outside. In the distance, she noticed red taillights. The vehicle slowly backed away. She turned the camera on herself and started explaining what had just occurred. Only a few minutes into her explanation, she heard footsteps again.
I hear footprints. Hear that? Yeah, somebody was just here again 3 times now. The 3rd time I looked out, they were walking on foot. I seen them walking and they hid behind the big tree there. And then they went to a car, the same car that was here earlier. Well, that was back, and then it backed away and left again. 3 times in one night. This time, they didn't knock though. They were just walking around. I could hear them walking around the van.
When daylight finally came, Lisa exited the van and discovered footprints surrounding it.
So I come out this morning and you can see footprints. Look at this one. This is mine. I'll show you. There's mine. See? They were actually... There's some more. Look at that. They came here. They were standing here, as you can see.
Some viewers feel the 2 guys were most likely up to no good, and I can't blame them for that because that would freak me out. Why return multiple times after hearing someone inside? That detail suggests the situation may have been far more dangerous than a simple theft attempt. What are you doing in this situation? If I was a woman and people were creeping around my van like that, I'd be pretty worried. By now we've all seen this clip from Nick and Ted from The Hunting Public, but I wanted to showcase it one more time. First, this creator, Shadow Chronicles, is really good. Give him a follow. But near the end of this clip is the actual 911 call the guys make to report this.
Nick and Ted of the hunting public were tracking deer in a remote backcountry when they heard something that would haunt them for years to come.
Alright, so me and Ted are set up. We ended up getting almost a mile and a half back in here. We were walking this ridge top like we were talking about. It ended up being 3 super fresh scrapes. I mean, they're just like completely pawed down. No leaves sitting on them or nothing. So we jumped up in a tree. Pretty dang high up in a tree. Yeah. Real high. And we're actually like directly above one of the scrapes. But it's super tight in here. I mean, any shot's gonna be close at all. I mean, 20 and in, 25 and in maybe. But we feel good about it. So, best sign we found all week.
After settling into the final hunting spot of their trip, they heard something that shook them to their core. While waiting silently in their position, the first gunshot echoed through the trees.
I mean, there ain't nothing out here. Somebody is screaming at the absolute top of their lungs over there. Very not good obscenities to someone else. Right before that last gunshot, it sounded like a truck revving up or something, like in gravel, throwing gravel or something. Yeah. And then that gunshot was like, that one sounded like a rifle. That last one, all the other ones sounded like a handgun. That last one, like,
Gunshots aren't uncommon in hunting areas, but what unsettled them were the screams. Someone was shouting obscenities, their voice filled with terror or rage. Nick and Ted exchanged worried glances as more gunshots followed.
something not good's going on. Imagine if we would have ended up orbing them on it, how close we would be to that. We might have been able to see it. That's terrifying. That is wicked. Well, hopefully nobody got shot, but sure sounded like somebody did. Sounds like somebody might have got killed over there.
The sounds of vehicles added to the chaos, engines revving on gravel, sudden movements, vehicles halting and speeding away.
You're a vehicle. Yeah. Still screaming. Sounds like somebody crying. He's saying somebody else.
something terrible was happening just 800 yards from their position. With no cell service and growing concern, they made the decision to leave immediately. As soon as they reached an area with service, they contacted authorities.
Yes. I've heard some stuff that I feel needs to be reported to the police department.
Okay.
Me and a buddy were hunting, and at about 6:45, we heard gunshots, which is not uncommon, but then for 30 minutes straight or so, there was lots of screaming and just people, obscenities, and it sounded like something really bad was going on over there, and there was 20 or more gunshots ended up happening. And then I could hear vehicles taking off and coming to a halt, and we didn't know what to do, and we had no service, so we're trying to report and see if anything had been reported about there.
I mean, these guys, they had to up and leave to get service to make this call. And this was a part that I didn't see the first time I stumbled on it. To me, it just makes it all the more scary.
In the days that followed, Nick spoke with the state game warden who investigated the area. Strangely, they reported finding nothing, no evidence of the disturbing events that Nick and Ted had heard so clearly. Years after the hunting public uploaded their video, a commenter pointed out this chilling detail. After the gunshots, you could clearly hear someone scream, "Somebody help. You effing killed her. I'm from rural Missouri. Someone's daughter is probably missing." Let's take a listen and see if we can hear their voice. The mystery of what truly happened in these woods remains unsolved, with authorities providing no answers. Was it a robbery that spiraled out of control, or a personal confrontation that escalated into violence? Share your thoughts in the comments below.